Welcome to another edition of Don Hammond's Arlington Weekly News. Once again, I'm doing a variety of different character voices because maybe no one will notice. It may not even make sense to keep changing this intro every week. Anyway, here's the lineup for this week. The news, community bulletin board, and 55 plus news. Then maybe some commentary or a little more news. That's the show. Now here's the social media reminder. You can watch us on YouTube at Arlington Weekly News and the number 1, also on Facebook, and you can listen on the radio at WERA 96.7 FM. Now, on to the news. As of Saturday evening, January 30th, reports show the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in Arlington had reached 11,648. The change of sampling date is due to the Virginia Department of Health performing system upgrades this week. Even so, regular viewers and listeners will note the continuing increase in our reported case numbers. Elsewhere, we had previously reported that the County Board's town hall meetings had been replaced with County Board Session COVID Update videos. That seems to be true to some extent, but the anticipated frequency was bi-weekly. After the previous session on January 13th, the next expected session was January 28th, but the Arlington TV YouTube channel does not show such a session. There are other, usually much shorter, segments with some information, but we won't be reporting sessions on a regular basis because they are not occurring on a regular basis. We can only report on the occasional updates that we do receive. Given the current COVID situation, no news is good news does not apply. It's simply no news. The news we have been getting lately has been decidedly mixed. 2 weeks ago, we were encouraging 65-year-olds to register for vaccinations. Now, in the face of reduced supplies, the plan for Arlingtonians is as follows. Vaccinations are now being scheduled for healthcare workers, long-term care residents, regular residents aged 75 and above, police, fire, and hazmat personnel, corrections facility personnel, homeless shelter employees, child care employees, pre-kindergarten employees. Those in pre-registration status include residents over the age of 64, other residents with underlying medical conditions, food and agriculture employees, manufacturing employees, grocery store employees, public transit personnel, mail carriers, and continuity of government employees. Finally, those not yet eligible include waste removal workers, food service workers, employees of institutions of higher learning, public safety engineers, and the rest of the general public. Curiously, the employers of members of this last group are permitted to pre-register. For example, the owner of a restaurant chain who may be able to work from home is likely to be vaccinated before the employees of that chain who must report to work and interact with the public. Also, reports about Arlington's vaccination progress must be examined somewhat closely. On the one hand, considering Arlington's estimated population of 230,000 residents, 14,000 462 vaccine doses were reported as having been administered as of Monday, February 1st. However, the number of Arlingtonians who have received both doses and are considered fully vaccinated is only 2,152. That's less than 1% of Arlington's overall population. However, within that total population, it's also worth considering that around 50,000 children and teenagers are not eligible for vaccination. The significance of this last statistic is the CDC suggestion that 75 to 80% vaccination is considered desirable to achieve what they call herd immunity. Depending on how the CDC counts children and teens, it appears that the eligible adult population constitutes only about 78% of the total population. However, Arlington is nowhere near having to worry about that last distinction. There is simply too far yet to go. Well, we wouldn't be much of a news show if we didn't acknowledge the fact that it snowed in Arlington from Sunday, January 31st through Tuesday, February 2nd. However, as of our Thursday evening airtime, it's not much of a story, at least as far as being news is concerned. We also really ought to acknowledge the fact that February 2nd was Groundhog Day, on which various relatives of the squirrel family supposedly prognosticate the duration of winter weather depending on their locality. For 2021, the most recent 10-day forecast for Arlington calls for at least some snow on Sunday, February 7th, Wednesday, February 10th, Sunday, February 14th, and Monday, February 15th. That and the fact that winter technically doesn't end until around March 20th tends to foster a growing sense of indifference as to what the groundhog predicts. Maybe the kids like it, though. Meanwhile, here's another headline that bears closer examination. The effective message is that help is on the way. In this case, the reported help will come in the form of some $31 million from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, a renewal of support for homeless programs in Virginia. There are 133 homeless housing and service programs in Virginia who must share the support money for an average of about $233,000 per program. Arlington's share will be $1,655,980. The announcement is certainly good news, but Arlington's 5.34% share does provide a bit of perspective. That's the news. Now it's time for Community Bulletin Board, or CBB.
Hi, and welcome to CBB. Our first story is called Wreck at Home, Futurist Flowers Craft. Roses are red, violets are blue. Here's a beautiful flower craft just for you. Join up on Facebook, where community arts expert Mr. Jim is leading an arts and craft class that's perfect for Valentine's Day. Suggested project supplies include cardboard, a kitchen sponge, some craft paint, cling wrap, and a pen. Rec at Home presents free daily virtual activities geared for preschool and elementary audiences aged 3 to 10. You can join them every weekday at 3 o'clock p.m. for exciting activities based on a fun monthly theme. This one's on Thursday, February 11th from 3 o'clock to 3:15 p.m. It's free, courtesy of DPR Office of Youth and Family Programs. Next up, we're going to back up a little time-wise for this next event. It's for adults 18 and up, and it's called Deep Dive, Who Needs Love? This presentation takes a deep dive into natural history that scratches more than just the surface. This time around, they will look at reproduction without the romance. Some organisms don't need another of their species to reproduce. Others accomplish it by deception or even force. Not even the promise of dinner and a movie. These strategies, considered odd and maybe even unethical by human standards, will be the subject of this exploration. They will email you a link to Microsoft Teams before the program's start time. To avoid missing out, you'll want to have your device ready to go prior to the start of the program. Registration is required. You can register online or call 703-228-4747, and that's activity number 622-841-G. It's coming up on Wednesday, February 10th from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock p.m. This next event is for the whole family. It's called Storytelling Campfire. Here's an example. Once upon a time, we all froze because we sat around outside in the middle of a blizzard. But seriously, this event won't be like that. The whole family is invited to join up at the Long Branch Amphitheater for a lot of old-fashioned fun. This engaging program will be filled with entertaining activities that may include stories, special animal guests, games, songs, and, of course, s'mores. They do ask you to bring your own s'more supplies, though. For more information, call 703-228-6535. You will need to register both children and adults because children must be accompanied by a registered adult. Register online or call 703-228-4747, and that's activity number 622-951-C. That's on Saturday, February 13th from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock p.m. at Long Branch Nature Center at Glen Carlin Park, 625 South Carlin Springs Road. Finally, in CBB, we have a Valentine's Day event that actually happens on Valentine's Day. It's even suitable for families. It's called Animal Attraction, and it's a charming counterpoint to the deep dive program we mentioned earlier. Here's the message. Valentine's Day. It is the day of love, filled with roses, chocolates, and gifts. However, in the animal kingdom, there are no chocolates, so how do animals show their love? Join up to explore how animals attract one another through song, dance, and even gift giving. They will email you a link to Microsoft Teams before the program's start time. They ask only that you have your device ready to go prior to the start of the program. Registration is required. Register online or call 703-228-4747. That's activity number 622-951-U. That's as in roses are red, violets are blue. The activity number ends with a U. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Now it's time for 55 Plus News.
Howdy, and welcome to 55 Plus News. The first event is a presentation called What is Contained in a Will? Since this is a serious question, I'd better get all the old jokes out of the way first. First, straight man would say, "What's contained in a will?" And then the comic would answer, "Why, there's a way, of course." And then nobody would laugh. Then the greedy guy would come in and say, "Now that you mention it, what is contained in a will and how much of it is going to me?" Still no luck. Nothing from the audience. Then the ornithologist would say, "Actually, a will would normally include a whipper. You see, this is a kind of play on words based on the bird species Antrostomus vociferus, commonly known as the whip-poor-will. You see, we ornithologists do have a sense of humor, but people say we're not always good at handling a punchline."
Now that I got that out of the way, let's get back to the subject. Having a will and other estate documents is essential to ensuring your assets and wishes are communicated to your family when you pass on. Join elder law attorney Ed Zetlin to learn what should be contained in your will. You can register online or call 703-228-4747. That's activity number 912-404-12. It's on Wednesday, February 10th from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock p.m., and it's a virtual event. Ages got to be 55 and up, and the cost is 55 plus membership required. Next up, some good news for seniors. Opera Nova's concert for seniors premiered on January 28th, and now it's on YouTube. Selections include Rossini's La Danza, also Una voce poco fa from The Barber of Seville. Now, fans of the movie Citizen Kane will recognize that song as the one that Susan Alexander was trying to learn to sing. Also, they have What Good Would the Moon Be from an American opera. Yes, there are such things as American operas, and more of them than you might think. For this song, the lyrics were written by Langston Hughes. The 27-minute show features more songs, but for those, I think I'll have you just tune in. Now, even though it's called Concert for Seniors, it's available for people of all ages, and there's no membership requirement. Just go to YouTube and search for Opera Nova Concert for Seniors. While you're there, you might as well subscribe. Although donations are welcome, there's no cost for these YouTube shows. The dates and times are, well, whenever the mood strikes you. Headphones are recommended for full appreciation of these performances. And for some of you folks, you just might discover that opera contains a lot of songs you only thought you'd never heard of. Next up, for some of us, it's not too soon to think about Valentine's Day. For others of us, it's probably too late to think about Valentine's Day, but never mind. During these socially distanced times, it has been especially challenging to meet people. Heck, what with all the masks, it's hard to even recognize the people you do meet when you're on the street. Anyway, here's one solution. Singles are invited to meet virtually in a low-pressure Valentine's mixer filled with icebreakers and Valentine's-themed fun. You can register online or call 703-228-4747, and that's activity number 912803-5. It's on Friday, February 12th, from 1 o'clock to 2:30 p.m. Once again, you gotta be 55 or older, and the cost is 55 plus membership required. But for Valentine's Day, ain't it worth it? Finally, contrary to popular belief, especially among the younger set, Dolly Madison was more than just a tasty snack. Dolly Madison was originally one of the most beloved first ladies in the White House. Now, to be historically accurate, she was the wife of James Madison, the U.S. President from 1809 to 1817, because the term First Lady hadn't even been thought of yet. Her major innovation was that she brought about a spirit of cooperation by holding social functions to which she invited members of both political parties. Even before James Madison's election, Dolly had also helped the previous president, Thomas Jefferson. You can learn more about how Dolly influenced the sustainability of our democracy and our capital, Washington City, as an effervescent hostess. Join Rebecca Roper, volunteer for National Park Service Interpretive Services, as she shares an historical overview and insight into the life of Dolly Madison. As for the tasty snack idea, you'd have to ask her husband James, and he's not telling. You can register online or call 703-228-4747, and that's activity number 912-400-20. That's coming up on Friday, February 12th from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock p.m. Once again, you got to be 55 or older, and the cost is 55 plus membership required. Anyway, that's all I got for 55 plus news.
Well, I warned you there would probably be some commentary, and here it is. Let's take another look at the population analysis. The following figures come from a recent COVID report. For the population, people aged 0 to 9 years, 19,047. People aged 10 to 19 years, 46,097. People aged from 20 to 29 years, 88,962. People aged between 30 and 39 years, 76,227. People between the ages of 40 and 49, 68,910. From ages 50 to 59, 67,744. Between the ages of 60 and 69, 46,431. Arlingtonians aged 70 to 79, 25,969. And people aged 80 and older, 19,300. Now, this is split up among various ethnic groups. The numbers they've given us are Asian, 15,380, Black, 78,860, Latino, 67,459, Native American, 583, Other, 13,631, members of 2 or more races, 5,037, White, 188,392, and those with the ethnicity unreported comes to 109,271. But these are just numbers. Each week, we at Don Hammond's Arlington Weekly News provide a recent count of the number of confirmed COVID-19 cases in Arlington, but in a real sense, we don't really know who is getting sick or why. For example, sometimes a recreational walker will wear a mask loosely around their neck only to pull it up when someone approaches. Is this sufficient? The strictest recommendations call for the wearer to avoid touching their mask between the time they put it on at first and the time they take it off at last. But those who use the on-again, off-again approach when strolling are unlikely to wash their hands with each removal and replacement. Is this significant? Will it be good enough to deal with the newer, more transmissible COVID variants? We don't know. When 2 or more people occupy a household and they all contract the virus, did one infect the others or were there multiple origins? Again, we don't really know. As we've said before, the only thing that we can surmise is that each week, when another 100+ COVID cases have accumulated in Arlington, and whether the rate of increase has gone up or down, someone has been doing something wrong. Here's a Groundhog Day flash. We can report that in Pennsylvania, Punxsutawney Phil reportedly saw his shadow and rushed back inside, thus predicting 6 more weeks of winter weather. In Washington, D.C., Potomac Phil said that spring would come early, but that political gridlock would remain for the next 6 months. In Alberta, Canada, Balzac Billy predicted 6 more weeks of winter weather. In Ontario, Canada, Wiorton Willie predicted an early spring. And in French Canada, Fred Lamarmont of Val d'Espoir also predicted an early spring, even though he's not technically a groundhog. Meanwhile, consider the case of Ceratogalus. Ceratogalus was a horned gopher that lived during the late Miocene and early Pliocene periods, mostly in and around what is now the state of Nebraska. The function of the animal's horns has been the subject of debate among paleontologists. Some point out that the position of the horns on the creature's nose made them poor tools for digging. Others have observed that the angle and orientation of the horns would not work well for sexual combat, as is the case with butting animals like rams. In addition, the horns were present on both males and females. At any rate, it is unknown whether or not a Ceratogalus ever came up to see its shadow because they all died out over 3 million years ago. And that concludes this week's show. We will be back next week with more news from Arlington. Meanwhile, be careful, be safe, and be well.